Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. Heard on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yes, my name is Mike Avery, and so glad to have you along with us as we kick off the month of Rocktober. Rocktober. I used to say it was the best time of year in the outdoors. I used to say Rocktober was my favorite month of the year because the bow season had started. Waterfowl season's going on, small game season, fall turkey hunting, and of course some great fall fishing. These days, I gotta be honest, I think my favorite month is September. Because youth hunt, because bear season. But you cannot argue that October, the month of Rocktober, is a rock and roll time of year in the outdoors here in the great state of Michigan. Archery season now kicking off this weekend as you're here in the Outdoor Magazine radio show. What does that mean for you? How are you in the woods? How are you pursuing whitetails? Is it a recurve? Is it a longbow? Is it a compound bow? Is it a crossbow? I have hunted with all of them, and I love each and every one of them. Each one has its own challenge. You cannot argue with the challenge of traditional archery. It is a one-shot, extremely close-up, very intimate method of hunting, and I absolutely love it. You have to be dedicated to traditional archery to be proficient and efficient and effective. And isn't that what we owe the critters that we're pursuing? A quick, clean, humane killing shot. So if you are out there in a ground blind or in a tree stand with traditional archery tackle this weekend, God bless you. I wish you nothing but luck, and you will earn and deserve whatever you get a shot at. Most people these days hunting with a compound bow. I love compounds. I love my Darton compounds. Made here in Michigan, I love that. But I haven't hunted with a compound in many, many years. Why not? I don't know. It seems like I'm either going one end of the spectrum or the other. I'm going traditional archery, the really, really hard way, or crossbows, and I hunt with a Darton crossbow. I don't want to say the easy way, but certainly an easier way to be proficient and effective and make a good, quick, clean, humane killing shot. It is easier. There's no argument. It is easier to be accurate with a crossbow. The effective range of a crossbow, in my opinion and in my experience, is no longer than when I was shooting a compound. People say, oh, well, I've said this. Yeah, I can hit a bullseye at 70 yards with a crossbow. Well, yeah, but would I ever shoot at an animal at 70 yards? No, absolutely not. My effective range with a crossbow is about the same as a compound. But it's easier to be accurate. And the big benefit with a crossbow is you don't have to draw it when an animal's in front of you. And that is a big, big advantage for sure. But is there something wrong with trying to give yourself an advantage? No, I don't think so. I mean, crossbows let young people get into the woods earlier who don't have the strength to pull a compound. They allow older hunters to stay out there longer. They allow hunters who have maybe a bad shoulder or a bad wrist or something to hunt. Why not? I would say my effective range with a crossbow is probably about 40 yards, which is what my effective range with a compound was, about 40 yards. Oh, I would ask you, though, regardless of how you are hunting, If you are in a tree, please be careful. Every year, we lose hunters because they fell out of a tree. And the hunters that survive that fall end up being sometimes hurt very badly. There are two types of tree stand hunters: those who have fallen and those who will. If you spend enough time in a tree stand, eventually you are going to fall. I hope it's just a little slip and you fall a couple feet and you scare yourself and you say, oh my gosh, that could have been so much worse. But the thing about tree stand accidents are, every one of them can be prevented. Every one of them. If you wear a full body harness and you attach yourself to the tree with some kind of a lifeline, if and when you fall, you're not going to hit the ground. You're going to scare yourself, but you're going to survive. So please, if you are up a tree stand this weekend, please wear a full body harness with some kind of a lifeline. And I will even consider this descender from Primal Tree Stands. If you fall, the descender grabs you and slowly lowers you to the ground. How cool is that? I would also ask you to consider maybe using a ladder stand. Ladder stands are easier for most people. These days, saddle hunting is a big deal. Well, in my opinion, saddle hunting is for younger people who are in pretty good shape, unless your name is John Eberhardt. Well, he's an older guy in good shape. And there comes a point in most every hunter's hunting career, that you might want to just think about giving up a tree stand and going to a ground blind. Nobody ever fell out of a ground blind. Well, I did, okay. One time, I had a ground blind on the side of a hill, and I reached to grab something, and I kind of lost my balance, and I rolled over. So I didn't really fall out of a ground blind. But ground blinds are a great option too, right? And the knock on ground blinds used to be, well, they limit your visibility. And they do, because you're not up in the air. You're on the ground. But with these see-through ground blinds these days, like the one I use from Primal Tree Stands at Wraith 270, my absolute favorite ground blind, you can see 270 degrees around you, but the critters can't see in. The other advantage of ground blinds is they conceal you, they protect you from the elements, they help contain your scent. The downside, of course, is you have somewhat limited visibility, and you're not up in the air. Regardless, though, I hope you have a very, very good hunt. But I would ask you to be safe. If you are successful, and what does success mean, right? Does success mean putting down an animal? In some cases. Success might be you had a great day in the woods and you saw a beautiful sunrise. If you are successful, I would ask you to share those pictures or video with me, and I will share them with the world. As I talked about last week, though, sharing has become increasingly hard because the brilliant minds at Facebook have decided they want to make it hard for me to share your pictures. It used to be you could just post them to the page and I could make one click on my mouse and share them. Not so anymore. Not so anymore. So unfortunately, the best way these days to share your pictures is to send me an email to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And I have to jump through a bunch of hoops then to share them, but I will. But it'll take me some time. I will get to them, but I do want to see them. As you are hearing this show, we're doing some time shifting. So I'm actually back from my bear hunt. As you are hearing this show, I am back from my bear hunt with Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer, in the Red Oak District in Michigan's UP by Seney. I don't know how I did. I know I went up to that hunt with high hopes because Johnny had an active bait that the bears were hitting. I have never taken a Michigan bear, and my goal when I left for this trip was to take my first Michigan bear with a gun. I've taken a lot of bears. I've never taken a bear with a gun. I went up there with my Brenton 350 Legend, my Michigan-made Brenton 350 Legend, the same gun that my grandson Carter shot his big doe on the youth hunt a couple of weeks ago. We'll see. Check my social media outlets and you'll know how I did. Coming up on this week's show for this first weekend in the month of Rocktober, Scott Szfranski of Linwood Beach Marina checks in about winterizing your boat. It's time to put the boat away. For many people, a lot of folks will stay right out there till it ices up. But if you're one of the people putting your boat away, Scott has great tips on putting the boat away, winterizing it, and storing it. Nick Grillo checks in from the Manistee River. Nick Grillo of Michigan brand, where he is steelhead fishing. Want to talk about how they can help you take care of your venison this fall, and also a big giveaway they have. In hour number 2, Jerry Wydner of the Hunter Safety System follows up on this concept of staying safe when you're hunting off the ground. Also, scent control. They have some very good scent control products. Corporal Ken Lowell from the DNR on staying safe and staying legal. And in our third hour, it's fall fishing with Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin. Plus, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar has a great recipe. That's coming up this weekend on Outdoor Magazine as we kick off the month of Rocktober. My name is Mike Avery. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Do not hesitate to use that address to reach out, send me pictures, questions, comments. If you have a question for the Ask Avery segment, that is the best way to get it to me. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Scott Szfranski of Linwood Beach Marina, LinwoodBeachMarina.com, on kind of maybe wrapping up your boating season. That's coming up here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on two stations, WIDL 1360 AM, WKYO 1360 AM, WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM as well. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website. It's MUCC.org. That's MUCC.org. If you want to sign up to become an MUCC member, use the promo code Mike, all caps, MIKE, and you can save 25% for becoming an MUCC member. Well, it is the month of Rocktober. What does that mean? Lots of great hunting. The bow season is open. Lots of great fall fishing as well. Now, I know that there is some great fall fishing, but to be honest with you, I'm kind of done now. I'm concentrating on hunting, and a lot of people are doing the same. If you are not going to be out there taking advantage of the great fall fishing, well, it's time to put your boat away. And what is involved in that? There's winterizing, there's shrink wrapping, there's storing. You can do it yourself. I choose not to. I go to the experts. I go to my friends at Linwood Beach Marina, LinwoodBeachMarina.com. I tell you, a great facility, great people, perfect place on Saginaw Bay. Nothing not to like, except for the end of the boating season. Scott Szfranski is one of the guys behind Linwood Beach Marina. He joins us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Scott, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Listen, let's talk about Linwood Beach here for a minute. You guys, I always talk highly about Linwood Beach. You have taken that facility and turned it into something very special.
Yeah, and, we've got a lot of people to thank for that. I mean, obviously a lot of hard work went into it, but, we're going on our next season will be our 17th summer season, and it's hard to believe it went by that fast. But, again, we've got a lot of people to thank. We've got, great partners like Mercury, Angler Quest, and then obviously great customers that support us year after year.
Well, you talk about Angler Quest. I mean, you guys have to be the biggest Angler Quest dealer in the country.
Yeah, we move a few. I mean, it's a brand that is taken off, and it's kind of using it yourself that it's kind of made to order for Saginaw Bay, and the the new Angler Quest boats, the 8.5-foot models, which you experienced this summer. I mean, they've been well received, and even with part supply issues and all the nightmarish stuff that you hear, I mean, those guys have been able to help us get boats to customers and all on the water. It's been good.
Well, it has been good, but for a lot of recreational boaters and for fishermen, it's kind of time to put the boat to bed for the wintertime. What are the key points in this, Scott, and why should we come to somebody like you at Linwood Beach to have it done professionally rather than try to do it ourselves?
Well, you know, in a nutshell, I mean, when we're winterizing engines, we might see things wrong that our customers just might not catch, you know, and that's the main thing. It's not that it's a super difficult process to do, but, you know, it does have to be done thorough or you know, damage can occur. And, you know, the short list of things, you know, with winterizing, you know, treating the fuel, the existing fuel, changing engine oils, I mean, generally this should be done every 100 hours or once a season. And then, you know, gear lube changes are important as well. You know, check the prop shaft, trim fluids, anodes, all things of that nature. Battery maintenance, I mean, that's all things we try to help people out with. And, you know, it's, again, the major thing is, you know, bringing it to us and have us do it. You know, maybe we can catch something that a guy wouldn't normally catch. You
talk about engine hours. In your experience, how many hours does the average, say, Saginaw Bay angler that you see, how many hours do they put on their boat?
I'd have to say anywhere from 70 to 100, you know, okay. And that generally puts you right in line for that oil change or that gear lube change schedule, you know. But that's generally what we see. But it all depends, Mike, on whether that person's trolling with their big engine or using a kicker motor and an electric. Sure. You know, that adds engine hours on it too. But generally, probably 60, 70 to 100 hours a year.
Let me go back to the question of having this done professionally. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you guys winterize my boat and something does happen, it goes back on you, right? If I winterize it and something happens, I'm out there by myself.
Yeah, I mean, our Mercury certified guys, you know, they're trained to look for stuff, and we're trained to be thorough. And yeah, I mean, you know, everybody makes mistakes, but we try to keep those to a minimum for sure. You know, I mean, I take gear lube for instance. I mean, you know, when we're looking at gear lube, you know, fine metal particles, you know, might indicate some normal wear. But bigger chips might, you know, indicate a wear issue that, you know, needs to be addressed, you know, and that's where our guys are trained to see. Or, you know, that, you know, the wrong color gear lube coming out. If it's white or creamy, maybe you got water, and we got to pressure check your lower unit, you know, and, you know, those are all things that are good ideas to take care of in the fall or winter so they can be addressed prior to the next season. Do
you guys shrink wrap too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, shrink wrap's very effective. You know, very effective method of protecting the boat during periods of storage. However, it's important to ventilate the hull. So even the driest conditions, without ventilation, you know, the cover will trap some moisture. So you know, and the moisture can create rust on metal, corrosion on other, you know, pieces of metal or mold or mildew on carpet and upholstery. So, you know, yes, we do shrink wrap. It's a very effective method for storage. But, you know, we definitely make sure that between moisture retaining products that we put inside the boat and ventilation, you know, we try to keep that moisture, you know, retention to a minimum. If you shrink wrap with good ventilation, can you leave your boat outside then for the wintertime, or do you advise trying to get it indoors somewhere? No, outside for the winter is fine. What we don't like to see is going a summer season, you know, with that shrink wrap left on again. You know, so shrink wrap in the fall through the winter, you know, be on a regular schedule of taking the shrink wrap off, and the late spring, getting ready for summer. You know, that's the way we like to see it. But, you know, people get in situations where they, you know, maybe can't use the boat for the summer. I would definitely take the shrink wrap off and do a redo for the next season, you know, if that was the case. So are you guys here this time of year? I mean, are you busy like crazy winterizing boats, or are people putting it off later in the season with the good fall fishing that can be out there in Saginaw Bay? Well, obviously, anybody that has a stern drive or an inboard engine is thinking about it. So, generally those boats are put away, normally by the end of October, and that leaves the outboard crowd. And that's generally what you see during the fall leading up to winter. And you said it. I mean, this fall bite, big crankbaits take over. So, deep bandits and deep husky jerks and slower speeds, but, we might be slowing down, trolling speed wide, but the fishing's definitely not slowing down. And I'm expecting a really, really good fall here. I don't know what you saw for a max surface temp this summer, but I think 75 degrees was about the warmest that we got.
Yeah.
And these fish didn't leave, Mike, and I think we're going to have a good fall fishing season. And on top of that, the perch fishing should be heating up too.
I was going to ask you about that. Well, when do you see that perch bite really peak out there on Saginaw Bay in front of Linwood Beach Marina?
Normally that's end of September through October, and then first couple of weeks of November. I mean, that's generally when we see it peak. And but we've been getting some reports from the sailboat buoys and out by 1 and 2 channel buoy using perch rigs, and lots of sorting going on, smaller fish right now. But I think that's only going to improve.
Yeah, I think you might have answered my question. I was going to say, Saginaw Bay is a big body of water. If you're coming into town from outside the area and don't know where to start, what do? Just look for a pack of boats when you're perch fishing?
They can't hide. I mean, when they're, when you got a group of boats anchored, I mean, that's, they're easy to spot. And, but, with that said, 50 yards can make all the difference perch fishing, as you well know. I mean, so, that's a good start for somebody that's new to the area, or just stop by the store or, get a fishing report and a GPS location that you can start with. But, when you've got 6-10 boats sitting in one area, it might be a good place to check out, and then use your sonar to kind of fine tune.
And how long would you give a spot when you're perch fishing? Are you one of those guys who likes to move till you find them, or find a good spot, sit there and wait for the fish to come to you?
Well, generally I'd say about a half hour, but with today's equipment, like with spot lock electric trolling motors that that have anchor modes that keep you in one spot. I mean, that just gives you the flexibility to move if you need to, as opposed to pulling a 100-foot anchor line in. So I recommend moving a lot, and if you have the right equipment, it sure makes it easy.
Well, you talk about today's equipment. Our boats are better than ever. These electronics are crazy, and these outboards today, Scott, I can't believe how quiet they are. That 300 Merc of mine, people get on the boat and say, "Aren't you going to start the motor?" I say, "It's running." They can't hear it. But yet I can troll down with that big 300. I get a good speed out of it. I mean, they're pretty impressive pieces of equipment these days.
They sure are. And, and you almost have to be careful with how quiet they are. We've had people in the marina leave them running. The quietness makes them, and the trollability after break-in. I mean, they're definitely a tool, and there's products out there that can help you, slow down if you're not getting quite to that speed with that big outboard, bags or the assistance of a trolling plate or whatnot. But with that said, I mean, our summer trolling speeds, have been 2.5, and generally most outboards are pretty close to that once you put them in gear. Yeah,
I can reach them with my 300, no problem. What about fall waterfall hunting? You guys, I always think of you as Walleye Central, but man, you're a great jumping off spot for waterfall hunters too.
Yep, that's coming up, and goose season's already open. But come October here, the duck season will be in full swing, and water's a little bit down. That's good and bad. We're going to have to be careful with travel, but as far as getting out of the boat and weightability, I think we're going to be going to see some options there as opposed to setting everything out of the boat. So, we're expecting a good waterfowl season this year.
Scott Szfranski of Linwood Beach Marina. I would send people your direction to get their boats winterized and stored, also for some great fall walleye fishing or for some waterfowl hunting as well. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. In my opinion, you will not find a finer facility and better people to enjoy certainly the west side of Saginaw Bay. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, check in with another great guy, Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. He just happens to be on the river today, but we want to talk about that and more right here on Outdoor Magazine. can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK, that's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. And north of the bridge in the Sioux on News Talk 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Michigan-based Boning Archery, a fixture, a leader in the archery industry for 76 years now, I think. The company started with one simple product to glue broadheads to arrow shafts. These days, Boning continues to innovate, come up with new products, new manufacturing processes. As you are heading to the Whitetail Woods this weekend, I bet there are Boning products on your rig somewhere. If not, you might want to think about it because they make some very, very good products. And top quality people, innovators, and designs. What more can you ask for? Well, the fact that they're Michigan-based, I got to love that. The website, boning.com, BOHNING.com, boning.com. I have made no secret of the fact that I love to work with Michigan-based companies. And when they're family-owned companies, I get even more excited. And I have been so blessed to work with some very, very good companies. And I'll tell you what, Michigan Brand meets right at the top of that list. Michigan Brand, owned and operated by the Grillo family. Nick Grillo, a good friend of mine. Nick is a hardcore hunter and an angler. In fact, as we are reaching him now, I think he's on the Manistee River steelhead fishing with Paul Schlafly of Riverside Charters. Nick, how you doing?
Hey, Mike, good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, but I'm in the studio. You're on the river.
Exactly, yep. We're out with Captain Paul today of Riverside Charters, and we're salmon fishing, and we've got 4 on the boat so far.
Wow.
I'm eating some summer sausage right now, some of our jalapeno and buckstick, and so I can't really complain.
Well, I tell you what, Nick, here in the studio, it is an absolute downpour. What's it like for you there on the river?
Really, it's beautiful here.
Is it really? Nice.
We heard thunder in the distance when we were casting all this morning when the sun was just starting to come up, but it's partly cloudy, but just a tiny breeze to keep the bugs away, and it's just a beautiful day on the river. The leaves are just starting to change. We've had hundreds of salmon porpoising all around us and jumping, and yeah, it was a great morning so far. Wonderful.
Well, say hi to Paul for me. He's a great guy, and if anybody can get you into fish, Paul Schlafly can do it.
Oh, exactly. And that's the thing. You can try to navigate this river yourself, but, man, there's just so much logs and debris, and he knows it like the back of his hand, and he knows exactly where these fish lay. So that's why we always trust him. And, heck, every time we come out, we're getting, easily 4 to 6 fish every time. I mean, it's a great trip every time.
Wonderful. Well, you're off to a good start this morning. Nick, I want to check in for a couple of reasons. This is, as folks are hearing this show, we're kicking off the month of Rocktober, which, of course, is the beginning of the Michigan bow hunting season. A lot of people are going to be putting venison down. Some people will process their own venison. Others will have it done. Can you help those people out, though? I mean, is there anything we can do with our whitetails to bring them to you guys?
Yep, exactly. So we still do our custom processing right now, and so what that entitles is we do not take whole carcasses anymore. We used to do that years ago, but with our USDA inspectors and just the times, we just couldn't do it anymore. So if you bone out your meat, you don't even have to trim it up if you don't want to. But, get it off the bone and bring it to us. We can process it into anything you want. We have a list on our website, and everything on there shows what you can get. We can make it into jerky. We can make it into sausage. We can even take a hind quarter or a front shoulder, and we can pump it with our ham brine, and then we smoke it and turn it into a smoked ham. But it's a venison ham, obviously. And I do that every 2 or 3 years because I just forget how good it is turning venison into a ham like that.
And the website you mentioned is michiganbrand.net. That's michiganbrand.net. So we would have to, though, we got to get it to you where, in Bay City or Frankenmuth?
Correct, yeah. So Bay City. Frankenmuth, we do not accept any. So our Bay City address is on the website as well. And we have walk-ins. Obviously, there's signs that will point you to the back door. We weigh it up for you right there, and we say, hey, this is what you have to play with. Do you want summer sausage, jerky? And then you say, hey, I want X amount into jerky. We'll say, all right, you have this much left. and you want to do some hot kind of sausage, or you want to do some of those brats that you love, those bear brats. And speaking of that, you can bring anything. It doesn't have to be venison. We've gotten some elk meat in the last couple of days with the Michigan elk hunts going on. We've had people bring us bear. We've had people even bring us caribou and moose, duck, geese, to make into snack sticks or sausage. So it does not have to be venison. It can be anything.
Well, in fact, by the time folks hear the show, I may have already brought you my Michigan black bear, because I do love those bear brats on the grill. And when it comes to processing, nobody does it better than you guys at Michigan Brand, Nick.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And that's what we're hoping for. We did that, 2 or so years ago? I think you got
with my Ontario bear,
Ontario bear, yep. And we made a lot of sausage for you and brats, and you're grilling those up all summer. So that's what I mean. It's perfect like that. So, yep.
Nick, I know you're fishing, but I'd like to keep you on for a couple more minutes and talk about a few more things. Can you hang tight during the break?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Well, maybe you'll even catch a fish or two during that couple of minutes.
I hope so.
All right. We're talking with Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats, MichiganBrand.net, MichiganBrand.net. If you want to get your whitetail, your bear, your elk, whatever, processed into some great jerky and brats or ham, the folks at Michigan Brand can help you out. But they're also involved in a lot of other things, and we'll talk about that after the break. The website, MichiganBrand.net, MichiganBrand.net. Great people, great company, great products, great service, and very, very tasty. MichiganBrand.net. More coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Tawas on WIOS, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM, and you can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Brenton USA Hunting Rifles. AR-style, highly accurate, tough and dependable, lifetime warranties on these rifles made in Lansing. It's what I used for my Michigan bear hunt in the UP. My grandson Carter shot his big doe during the youth hunt with a Brenton 350 Legend. The website, BrentonUSA.com, BrentonUSA.com. If you go to that website, use the promo code Avery, you can save $100. Or better yet, go right to Jay's Sporting Goods and buy one there at Jay's Sporting Goods. The website, BrentonUSA.com. That's BrentonUSA.com. While you are online, my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and check out MichiganBrand.net, MichiganBrand.net, the website of Michigan Brand Meats, where you can bring your boned out. Nick, help me out here. We're talking to Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand. Does it have to be boned and quartered for you guys to process it?
Yes, correct. It does. And like I mentioned before, it doesn't even have to be trimmed up if you don't want it. But if you want to have your own touch as far as having it as clean as you can get it, obviously that's great too. So all it has to be is off the bone and bring it on in.
Nick, I was just, you guys are on the Manistee River fishing Kings with Paul Schlafly of Riverside Charters. I was just looking at the picture you texted me. Man, that's a nice fish.
Yeah, that was the biggest one in the morning so far. But that one actually got wrapped up in a log, and we still were able to get it. Paul had to drive over on top of it. We were able to get it undone, and then it ran down the river, and it was a great fight, but we still got her. Any
steelhead? You see any steelhead or all kings?
Nope, all kings so far still. They're starting to trickle in, but yeah, we haven't seen any yet today.
Nick, you are a hardcore hunter, a hardcore angler. I love that. You like to promote the outdoors. You like to get people involved. And you guys are doing a promotion this fall with another partner of mine, Primal Tree Stands in the Wraith Ground Blind.
Yep, exactly. So, as you know, I love that blind just as much as you do. I mean, talk about a perfect pop-up blind. It's so nice. And we work with a great company in Michigan called Family Fare, the supermarkets, and we have a bunch of locations with them across the state, and we decided to do a fun giveaway here for the month of October. So it's going to be a social media giveaway, but you're going to have to go on Facebook there and like both our pages Michigan brand and family fare, and then make a comment, and we're going to select a winner at the end of October. So that's going to be, and obviously what the prize is going to be a Primal Rate 270.
Oh, that's a great deal. So they go on Facebook, they like Michigan brand, they like family fare, make a comment, and they're automatically entered.
Exactly, yep. And like I said, we'll run it through the month of October. We'll pick a winner there, and that way you can get it there, right before Halloween and set it up for your deer stand for a rifle, or if you want to still use it for bow hunting. I've shot a couple deer out of mine and turkeys, and actually I shot my bear up in Ontario with it, just like you.
So we know it works.
And it's perfect.
We know it works.
I love those blinds. Yep.
So Nick, let's tell people, even if they don't have a bear or a deer to bring into you guys, doesn't mean they can't try Michigan brand. I mean, you guys are all across the state now.
Oh, exactly. Yep. I actually looked last night because it's been about a month or two since I looked, and we're up to 442 different stores across the state. That's just in Michigan. We ship across the country, but just in Michigan, we're up to 442 stores. And that includes, like I mentioned, family fare. We have some great accounts like all the Forwards gas stations. We have Jay's Sporting Goods and Jackfruit Markets and much more. We're down to Grand Rapids, Traverse City, obviously out in the Thumb. We even have a couple good accounts in the UP like Rapid River Knife Works.
Man, you're all over the place these days.
Exactly. We're even on Drummond Island. We got a great store out there.
Very, very cool.
We ship the product. They do great out there.
Well, every holiday at the Avery house, there is a Michigan brand ham. I love those, but we're always eating a jerky. Of course, my favorite might be those Mike Avery peppered elk sticks. I got a soft spot in my heart and in my stomach for those. What's your most popular? What are people looking for when they come in to buy Michigan brand?
So a lot of it is the sweet taste. Everybody loves the honey, so we got a honey glazed turkey and beef.
Mm-hmm.
But with that turkey, it's just such a tender bite. And then we also have a cherry maple. So that's maple syrup made actually right here in Clare and Michigan, obviously. And then we have cherry syrup we add to it. So it turns it like a pink color because of the cherry syrup. But that's our most popular, too. We even have a snack stick that's a cherry maple elk. So it's elk meat, where yours is a peppered, obviously. This one's a cherry maple elk, so that's a really popular item.
Oh, Nick, you got my mouth water. I'm going to have to meet up with you and get some stuff for my take it up for my bear hunt with Johnny.
Yep, exactly.
All right, Nick, listen, have fun on the river. Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats, the website michiganbrand.net, michiganbrand.net. If you got a bear, an elk, or a whitetail that you want to get processed, get it quartered and deboned, get it to the folks at Michigan Brand. They can make it up for you. Or just stop by one of the stores, Forward Corporation, a Family Fare, Jay's, Rapid River, all over the state, 400-plus locations where you can pick up their products. And I would encourage you to check out the peppered elk, the Mike Avery peppered elk stick. And don't forget, if you want to win a Wraith 270 see-through ground blind from Primal Tree Stands and Michigan Brand, go to Facebook, like Michigan Brand and Family Fare, and make a comment, and you will be entered to win. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Jerry Wydner of Hunter Safety System right here on Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, heard on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yes, I'm trying to make the point that Outdoor Magazine is first and foremost a radio show. And I do think the best way to listen, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station. your local news, weather, sports, even commercials. Maybe there's a sale you want to take advantage of. Plus, the broadcast version, the radio version of the show, the content is made available there before the podcast is uploaded. Now, you probably don't care, right, whether you're listening to the radio show on the radio station or the podcast version up. And I get that. And I realize that I probably shouldn't even make a big deal out of it. But for some reason, I feel kind of compelled to do so because there are a bunch of outdoor podcasts out there for your consumption, for your listening pleasure. And there are a lot of very, very good podcasts out there. But there aren't many statewide syndicated radio shows. So I like to make that distinction just to kind of set Outdoor Magazine apart in some small way. But I do understand how big podcasting is. It's huge. I love podcasting, and it's an easy way for anyone to get content out there and to tell a story. And for that reason, I do make the podcast version of the radio show available just about everywhere. It's on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page. It's on Amazon Music. It's on Audible now. I love Audible. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. It's on Twitter, if there's anybody on Twitter anymore. LinkedIn, the whole gamut. I mean, Spotify, Stitcher, Odyssey. I even put it on YouTube. I know it's a radio show, but people consume it on YouTube. Also, I need to put a blatant promotional plug for my podcast network. I do monthly podcasts for Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Primal Tree Stands, and Polar Craft Boats as well. So if you could keep an ear out for those, I would appreciate it. Regardless of how you are hearing my voice, where, when, I really do appreciate it. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to do this show that I have for so many, many years. So you are, first and foremost, I always say this, I thank God for the ability to do this. I thank you for listening. But I also have to thank the people along the way who have helped me get to where I am. Friends of mine in the outdoor industry, friends of mine who have been very successful in their own right and in some small way have allowed me to maybe even ride along their coattails. The guys at Hunter Safety System would fit that bill. I mean, they're great friends of mine, the Weidners, John and Jerry, and their friend Jim Barta, who got this whole thing rolling. I was able to see these guys start this company, grow it into something very, very large and very successful, and save a lot of lives along the way. Jerry Wydner is one of the founding fathers of Hunter Safety System, and he joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line, and it is indeed a treat. Jerry, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. So good to talk with you, and maybe even reminisce a little bit.
Well, when guys get old, they have stories to tell.
Well, all we have left are our memories, Mike.
I want to talk about the scent control part of your business, but I got to go back to the beginning. Let's talk about Hunter Safety System. The story of how you guys started is great. Would you share that with us, Jerry?
Mike, it's amazing how many times I'm asked to share that story, and I'm always amazed that people want to hear it. But I guess it is the foundation of Hunter Safety System and what drove us to start it. But sure, John and I were hunting, both using climbing tree stands. This was 22 years ago, by the way. And both of us had a harness that day, and you know what the harnesses were like during those years. They were very complicated, and we called them spaghetti straps with buckles, so they were hard to put on, and I know you remember because you were with us right from the beginning. And both of us had a harness. Both of us tried to put them on. We both failed to get them on. We both took them off and let inconvenience get between us and safety, which is totally wrong. But that particular morning, John had climbed, got ready to hook up while he was 20 feet above the ground, and the base of his tree stand, his climbing stand, fell out from under him. By the absolute grace of God, he caught himself as he was falling through. Now, that doesn't happen, but it did that day, and we look at that and we know that was a blessing from God. Well, long story short, we finally got John to the ground. He called me on our two-way radios because we didn't have cell phones, but We got down. John's exhausted. He's bleeding. He's absolutely laying on his back and having a difficult time even getting his next breath. And I remember looking at John and saying, John, why weren't you wearing your harness? And I remember he looked back at me and said, were you wearing yours? And boy, it hit us. And we're both guilty. And I'm trying to make a point, John. He says, well, I am too. And then that was the beginning. That's when we went back to our camper that we were staying at. And during that night, we spent all that afternoon and all that night until the early morning hours of coming up with the concept of hunter safety system. And I'm quite sure, and we're totally convinced it was God-given, God-led, and like you said, Mike, it has saved thousands of lives over the years, and we're humbled by that. I don't say that to pat ourselves on the back. I think that's God's glory, and put us in a position to be able to do that, and it's very humbling when we hear those stories.
Well, I always say there are two types of tree stand hunters, those who have fallen and those who will. But if you're prepared and wearing a full body harness and some kind of a lifeline, that fall will more than likely be nothing more than a really bad scare.
That's right. That's exactly right. I think, as we evolved over the years, and Mike, you had some of the very first harnesses we ever made. You helped us test those harnesses in the very beginning. And as we've evolved, we've come up with a lifeline and the rope-style tree straps and the quick connect straps and the carabiner, all the different accessory items needed to keep people safe in whatever style stand they hunt out of, because we don't all hunt out of ladders or we don't all hunt out of climbers. So we need to make sure that whatever type of stand you hunt out of, that we're able to connect you from the moment you leave the ground until you can safely get back to the ground. And we're able to do that today. And I thank God for that, because that in itself has helped to save maybe even more lives than just the harness itself ever did.
And that's the key, isn't it? That lifeline that allows you to hook in while you're still on the ground. You stay hooked to the safety device all the way up while you're hunting and come back down. Once you hook in at the ground, you never disconnect from that thing, do you, Jerry?
Never do. Never do. And I'll have people ask sometimes, when I get to the top, do I need to then put my safety strap around the tree? And I said, no, absolutely. When you hook up at ground level, you're hooked up. You never disconnect until you return back to ground level. So it's so simple. It's so easy. It's not rocket science. It's something that makes common sense. They're cheap, they're durable, they've been tested and certified to all the standards within the industry, and we know that it's going to perform only at that exact moment when needed. So that's all we do, Mike. As you know, we make safety products, and we're diligent with it, and very proud of the arrangement that we have today.
Well, what you have done, though, in my opinion, is more than just make these products. I think you have created a mindset and a culture where it is no longer looked down on to wear these safety devices, but it's looked up to. It's like, okay, this is cool. And I see it with my grandkids. They wouldn't think of going up a tree without hooking into a lifeline and wearing a full body harness. This is now accepted, whereas 20 years ago, we wouldn't even think of doing it, Jerry. So I think changing the mindset is as big a deal as anything.
That was probably our toughest battle, Mike. And again, I know you're so very aware of it, but in those early days, we were trying to convince somebody to wear something they don't typically like. They're not interested in safety. They don't think they're concerned about it. There's a little bit of a macho issue with it. And there's a sense of, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for X amount of years. You can't tell me how to do it. And so there was just a negative mindset when it came to something that might be compared to a seatbelt. Who gets excited about a seatbelt? But today, who doesn't use a seatbelt? And you're so right, Mike. In today's world, I think people have accepted it. And the numbers that are coming back through organizations like TSSA and all the information that we get back from them that is showing it's certainly making a difference. And it's not just Hunter Safety System. There are many agencies that are in this battle of trying to make sure our fellow hunters come home safe.
Well, not just Hunter Safety System, you say, but in my mind, you guys were the originators, you guys were the leaders, and you're still the best. We're talking with Jerry Wydner of the Hunter Safety System, the website huntersafetysystem.com. That's huntersafetysystem.com. We've got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, I want to talk more with Jerry about this concept of staying safe, but also they've branched into other things now. Scent control, which is a big issue, too. We'll talk with Jerry about that and more. The website, huntersafetysystem.com, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. You can hear us in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Rapid River Knives. As always, you know I do. I have a Rapid River knife in my pocket right now. The same knife I use to take care of my grandson Carter's doe, and the same knife that hopefully I'm going to use to field dress my UP bear. As you are hearing this show, I'm back from that hunt, so you'll know how I did. And at this point, we're recording the show. I don't know. I don't go anywhere without that Rapid River knife in my pocket. These are handmade, custom-made pieces of art that are designed to be used. They make pocket knives like I have right now. They make skinning knives, fillet knives, gutting knives, hatchets, axes, kitchen knives, and they come with a lifetime guarantee. How many things out there come with a lifetime guarantee? If you break that knife, they will fix it or replace it, even if you're honest with them, even if you used it for a screwdriver and break the tip off. Just tell them the truth. They'll take care of you. Great products, great people. Oh, by the way, stop by their showroom if you're in the UP. It's on US 2 just outside of Rapid River. Or go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us, rapidriverknifeworks.us. While you are online, I would encourage you to go to my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and head on over to huntersafetysystem.com. Huntersafetysystem.com, obviously the website of the Hunter Safety System, the premier group, company, entity, franchise involved in keeping people safe in tree stand hunting today. Jerry Wydner, one of the founding fathers of Hunter Safety System. Jerry, it's a real pleasure to talk to you. You and I don't get a chance to get together like we used to, and I miss that. We've spent some great times on some great hunts across the country.
Boy, we sure did, and I, like you, Mike, I have the memories of it, and I wouldn't give anything for it because we had such great times, and I wish we could do it again, and God, I would hope that maybe we could find time.
Let's not rule it out yet, hey?
That's right.
We're not done yet.
We're not through yet, Mike.
So, Jerry, what is the product lineup for Hunter Safety System look like these days?
You know, I'm really proud of our lineup because we have products to take care of whoever you are. And we've got safety harnesses that fit our children because we want to take our children up in the trees. We want them to experience what we love so dearly with the passions of our life, sitting in that tree stand, enjoying nature and finding out what it's all about. But they have to be safe. Mama's not going to let that young one go up there and not be safe. So we have products for them. We've got products that range anyway from lightweight to the Shadow and X1 series, ultralight series, all the way up to our Pro series, which has every hunter-friendly convenience we know to put in a harness. We have harnesses that are made specifically for the ladies. It's not just a color variation. It's made for the ladies. Ladies are a little different in what they need, so it's made for them. We've even got a harness, Mike, that's our 4X, 5X model that takes care of those hunters from 300 to 400 pounds. And that was difficult to do. We had to get that certified and tested, made sure that it was it was going to be safe for those people. Had to fight our insurance company to be able to do that. But I felt an obligation to say, you know what, if a man's 334 pounds, let's say, he wants to hunt from a tree just like the rest of us. And I feel a little obligation to say, you know what, I'll be here for you. I'll build the products that you need. So those are available direct from Hunter Safety System. They're not available in stores, but anybody that has that need, they can contact us direct, and we want to give them a little special attention. That's why we do it that way.
When you think about the cost of these versus what they're doing as far as potentially saving your life, it's a no-brainer. But are these a one-time investment, Jerry? If I buy one of your vests, can I, if I don't fall, can I wear this till the end of my hunting career?
It's a good question. I'm glad you said it. There's a 5-year lifespan, and that's an industry requirement that any harness you have is good for 5 years, but should be replaced after 5 years. And you want to, because 5 years ago, the harnesses we were selling, they were great harnesses, good harnesses, but evolution has its way of saying we can make it better. We've found new ways. We found lighter materials, stronger materials, better buckles. And there's such a huge difference between what we were doing now and just 5 years ago. But yes, it has a 5-year lifespan, and people should adhere to that. You want to make sure that that product is going to be safe and up to that standard when needed.
And if you do, God forbid, fall, then you need to replace it. But you know what? You've got more than your money's worth out of it at that point.
Well, certainly. You take a harness, we've got harnesses here for $59. You take that $59 and spread that out over 5 years. There's not a lot of expense in that that is going to keep you safe.
Jerry, how did you guys get into the scent control part of the business?
We had a man come to us, now this is several years ago, and he was out of North Carolina. He's a chemist, and introduced this product to us. And he was using this particular product in the medical industry, in hospitals, doctors' offices, dialysis centers. And it was a product that kills bacteria. And he was telling me, he said, there's a real application for this product in the hunting industry. He said, I don't have time to go there. I don't have the access to go there. But he said, I know you do. And he said, I would like to consider you taking our product and bringing it, exposing it to the hunters. At the time, Mike, I didn't believe him. I had tried a lot of products. They seemed not to work for me. And I was very skeptical, very, very skeptical. But I said, I'll vet it. I'll put it through its measures and see, and if I truly believe in it, I'll endorse it, put our name on it. But until I can do that, I'm certainly not going to put our name on it. Well, it's called the elimishield. And elimishield kills the bacteria that causes odor. The beauty of that is we don't have to mask the odor. We don't have to ozone that odor. We don't have to try to capture it and redirect it. We don't have to worry about what way the wind's blowing because there is no odor. Our human odor comes from within us, and it comes from the bacteria that we produce. If we're not producing that bacteria, we don't have an odor. And it kills it on contact, and it doesn't do it with a chemical. There's no chemical involved. It's an actual physical kill. It's a series of ion spikes. If you looked at it under a microscope, it'd scare you to death because it's a bunch of spikes. But it physically kills the bacteria and doesn't allow it to do what bacteria does, and that's give the odor. So it's a tremendous product. If asked, is it the best product that's ever lived? Yes, it is. Now, it's easy for me to say that, but I would be happy to prove that to anybody.
Is it a spray or a foam or a bar of soap or what?
We have all the different products that come. The main ingredient and the main product is called the core body foam. And it's a foam. You just shake it, spray it. It's a foam, and then you put that on your body. And the bacteria that comes from your body is what gives off the odor. So as that bacteria escapes your body, it kills it on contact. Once you put it on your body, you're good all day long. It doesn't matter what you do. or how much you sweat. It will protect you all day long. In fact, I can say that so easily because I know it protects for several days. Whatever you put that on, you're not going to have any odor from that for several days down the road. Mike, me personally, I have not used deodorant since July of 2018.
I remember you telling me that.
And I still haven't. And I use it. I put it under my arms every Monday morning. That's it. And then I go all week. Do I sweat? I sure do. Do I have any odor? Nope. And I'll tell you what, my wife would be the first to tell me, too, if this thing didn't work. But I think that's the perfect way to test it. If you took the core body foam and you put that under your arm, don't use deodorant, and do that for several days. Don't use any more, just the one application, and see how long it takes before it wears off. What happens, Mike, is it attaches to the skin, but then the skin exfoliates over so many days. And so it will last until it exfoliates.
So the foam is good for your skin, though. But what about clothes? I mean, we try to wash our clothes in scent-free and then keep them scent-free. But when you're out in camp or out in the bush for a couple of days, you're going to need to spray them with something.
You're exactly right. And we do have all the products necessary. We've got the laundry detergent. We've got the hair and body wash. We've got the field spray where you can spray that onto your equipment, on your clothing, on your shoes, your boots. And when you do, it forms that permanent bond on there and will keep any scent that's on there from expelling out. Now, Mike, it kills organic bacteria. So if you spilled gasoline on yourself, it's not going to kill that odor. But things that spook a deer, our scent, it will totally take care of that.
I think it's pretty cool that, and actually I was quite surprised when I heard that you guys had branched out into that, but when I hear you talk about it, Jerry, it makes sense because you're in the business of making products to improve hunters' experience.
Well, we're hunters ourselves, aren't we? And what are the issues we have when we go hunting? And like I mentioned, I haven't used deodorant since July of 2018. I also have never had a deer pick me up by scent since July of 18. When I first started using it, and year after year after year, not one deer has picked me up. Now, I spent the first 52 years of my life being picked up by every deer that ever got downwind from me. I don't care what I did. And that's why I told the man that introduced us to this that I just didn't believe him. I didn't try to be disrespectful. I just didn't believe him. And I am such a believer now, and it's only because of my own personal experience. I'm not here to sell product. That's not why I'm doing this. It's to say, can this help you? It can help you.
Jerry, listen, I'm out of time. I enjoy our conversations. We could go on forever, but I'll let you move on with your day, and I'll tell you once again how much I appreciate working with you guys over the years, and appreciate your friendship of you and the entire Hunter Safety System family.
Boy, it goes without saying. And God bless you, Mike. It's always so good to talk.
All right, my friend, Jerry Wydner of the Hunter Safety System, the website huntersafetysystem.com. That's huntersafetysystem.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, Corporal Ken Lowell from the DNR, and then we'll wrap up this hour with this week's Ask Avery segment here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in port here on WPHM 1380 AM. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. For more info, check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Talking with Jerry Wydner of the Hunter Safety System in the previous couple of segments, I really I enjoyed the conversation. I worked with those guys right from the very beginning. when they first started, my show was on, my TV show was on the Outdoor Channel at the time. They said, hey, we've seen your show. We kind of like what you're doing, and we've got this new product, and we would like to, we're reaching out to some people to see if you can help promote it. Well, that's not an opportunity that comes knocking on your door every day, right? So, of course, I took advantage of it. So this whole concept of tree stand safety is something that I've been really aware of and been pushing it, promoting it for a long time now. Michigan DNR, of course, is behind this as well because, look, everybody wants to keep hunters safe and legal, right? Corporal Ken Lowell is with the DNR, a game warden with the DNR, joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Corporal, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Wonderful. Don't call me sir, though, Ken, okay?
Okay. All right.
So, say, listen, how are things in your world this fall? You got to be ramping up, starting to get busy, or is it always busy for you?
Well, I mean, there's always something to do outside, but yeah, we're ramping up, getting ready for deer season here. We got some youth hunts that have ran the last couple weekends, and those have been successful outside of some weather. But yeah, we're ramping up. Hunter safety's going strong, and we're ready for fall. So
this concept of hunter safety, you know, people who aren't hunters or aren't gun people necessarily would say, well, you know, it's dangerous. You're out there in the woods. You've got they call them weapons. I don't call them weapons. They're tools. But when you look at hunting, statistically, hunting is a very, very safe thing to participate in, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, if you think about the hundreds of thousands of people just here in Michigan that hunt, you know, there's not a lot of accidents that happen because we have good instructors throughout the state that teach our young people, young and even adults now, and more adults and women than ever recently in hunter safety. Good instructors, and they're keeping these folks safe by teaching them how to stay safe, because you know you're out there hunting with, you know, your neighbor next door. You know, you want to keep them safe as well. So yeah, they do a great job, and overall hunting is a very safe sport for sure. So
what do you want folks to keep in mind as they head out this fall?
Well, you know, you're talking about the tree stand safety. You know, that's something that we've really put into hunter safety a lot. You know, the harnesses and letting people know where you're at, because, you know, if you do fall, you want somebody to come looking for you eventually. And if they have a place to start, that's going to help you out, you know. But yeah, just again, we've talked about knowing where your neighbors are and getting permission from neighbors, you know, so we don't have trespass issues. But safety is our number one goal when it comes to hunting. We want people to be successful, but we have to make sure that we're safe in doing that. And that starts with right at home, you know, kids learning from parents, learning from grandparents, aunts and uncles, mentors, teaching them the right way to start it out so that when they go on their own, they take those things that they learned years ago into the field with them so that they're safe and then can teach other people to be safe.
I think that's a great example because just take the whole concept of wearing some kind of a full body harness. Guys my age, Ken, we didn't used to do that. We had to learn to do that and make ourselves do that. But these kids coming up these days, I look at my grandkids, when they head out to the tree stand, they put on that vest or that harness as just part of their gear. They think of it as like picking up their bow or their gun. It's just part of their hunting gear.
Absolutely, and that's what we need to instill in all these new hunters and us old hunters that didn't use those lines and straps and harnesses. We just use branches, you know, and that, like you said, we've learned over the years some hard lessons of why that doesn't work and why these harnesses are important. And there's so many tools that go along with these harnesses anymore, with like the lifelines that you can attach, so you're connected all the way up. Tree stand falls generally happen in and out of the tree, not necessarily in the stand. So, and you know, we want to make sure that when we're climbing, we have all hands on board. You know, we don't want to be carrying our gear with us. That's why we use a lifeline, or a haul line to raise and lower your gear, your bow, your firearm, whatever you're using to hunt. We don't want that in your hand. You should be hanging on to every branch and every climbing stick, you know, 2 feet on there and 2 hands on there at all times to keep you safe going up and down.
We're talking with Corporal Ken Lowell of the Michigan DNR, the website michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. Corporal, we talked a little bit off air. I know you can stick around and help me out with this week's Ask Avery segment.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. No problem.
All right. Corporal Ken Lowell of the Michigan DNR, the website michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. When we come back, Ken's going to answer a question that I had sent to me for this week's Ask Avery segment. And you're going to find out it fits perfectly because it's a question that I can't answer, but I know how to get to people. And this weekend, Corporal Lowell is that people. My name is Mike Avery, the website MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, my email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We will take a quick break and continue this week's Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. Glad to have you along with us. You can hear the show in Holland on WHTC, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain on WMIQ, 1450 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. And you know by now the way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. You can send a question to me that you want me to answer directly, or you want me to pass along to somebody else. The best way to get these questions to me is to send me an email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And that is exactly what Steve Miller did. Now, not the Steve Miller who did Fly Like an Eagle. This is the Steve Miller from the Detroit Buck Club. He says, Mike, for the Ask Avery segment, he says, we don't have much water on the farm, so if I put a horse trough full of water out there, is it considered baiting? If that's not allowed, I wonder if I could just dig a hole and line it with plastic. Then I could let it naturally fill up. Now, the reason Steve is asking this is because baiting for whitetails is illegal in the Lower Peninsula. Well, we just have to happen to have Corporal Ken Lowell of the Michigan DNR along with us. And it seems like a perfect way to get this question answered. Corporal, you've taken a look at this question. What's the answer to it?
Well, water holes have become quite popular as of late, and it is not illegal to put water out in an area that you want to hunt. Water is not considered bait in the definition, so if somebody wanted to put a water trough out in their property for watering purposes for animals, then that's not illegal. I see more folks doing the digging a hole, lining it, and letting it fill up than I do see, troughs out. But either one would be a legal way to get water on your property. So it would not be baiting, so it would be legal.
A follow-up question.
Sure.
Here in the Lower Peninsula, baiting, period, is not allowed. I mean, there's no limit. There's no 2 gallons, no nothing, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. Yeah. They have not, it's been quite a few years now that, baiting has been illegal. Used to be a 2-gallon rule. There's no 2 gallons at all. You can't put anything out that's going to attract deer to a specific spot, other than like a food plot. You can plant apple trees, you can plant pear trees, you can plant food plots until you can't plant them anymore. But to actually just go out and put corn down or a grain of some sort or a mineral would be illegal, to concentrate those animals in one spot.
And this is interesting because I realize, look, this is not a question that you guys in the field, you don't make this decision, but the whole thing was we don't want to bring animals together and congregate them. Well, you could argue that a food plot does that. You could actually argue that a water hole does that. You could argue that an apple tree does that. So I bet you have some interesting discussions with people in the field.
Absolutely, yeah, and you're exactly right, because that comes up quite often. Of Well, if I plant an apple tree and it drops apples underneath of it, that brings a lot of deer to one spot. And that's true. And we all see that. And quite honestly, if you're hunting and you find an apple tree, that's a great spot to stop and hunt, because that's going to draw in animals, especially deer. They really enjoy apples. And then, yes, there are a lot of conversations, but, the higher ups make those decisions. They're based on, more on science and the fact that, if you concentrate a bait pile, it's not a natural concentration. Whereas a cornfield, there's been cornfields around for as long as everybody's been around. So apple trees grow naturally. They don't. It's not just something that somebody plants. They just pop up. So those things aren't illegal, and there can be, there are arguments and just conversations around that stuff, but that's where we're at right now. So I guess we'll, use whatever legal means you can to help your hunt, because we want hunters and we need hunters. We need to, successfully manage these deer by hunting, and that's what we all enjoy. So if you can do it legally, have at it.
Corporal Ken Lowell, I appreciate you helping us out on this Ask Avery segment and for the tips on tree stand safety earlier. Have a good season, and listen, I hope we get a chance to talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Captain, see, there's sir. He called me sir again, Charlie.
I know, but I'm sorry. Thank you, Mike. You have a good day.
All right, Ken, appreciate it. Corporal Ken Lowell. If he calls me Mike, I can call him Ken. Corporal Ken Lowell of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. And again, our thanks to the folks at Security Credit Union for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. They love to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, a conversation I always look forward to having, because Lance Valentine is going to join us. Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin, teachinfishin.com, talking about fall fishing, talking about fall trolling. Lance is not an ice guy, so we're not going to talk about ice at all. But when it comes to trolling for a while, also he's got a big outing coming up sometime later in the month down on Lake Erie, so we'll talk about that as well. My name is Mike Avery. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We'll take a break. We'll talk to you after the top of the hour, hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Weidner Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to Hour 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show as we kick off the month of Rocktober. Doing a little time shifting in the studio this week because doubling up, getting ready to head north for a bear hunt for me in the UP with Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. So time frame's a little bit off here, I'm recording about a week and a half early, which means if something big has happened in the outdoor news and I'm not talking about it this week, it's because it hasn't happened yet. What has happened is, in my world, I've made the switch from fishing to hunting. But by doing that, I'm making a big mistake in a lot of ways, because fall is some of the best fishing out there, especially if you're looking for big fish. Big fish of any kind. But fall is really known as a big walleye time. I spent my whole summer out on Saginaw Bay chasing walleye. I really had a great time on the angler quest out there, and just Had a good summer, lots of fish. Weather was pretty nice. There were a few times, though, when I had a hard time finding fish. I'm like, okay. Didn't take me long. I pick up my phone, I text my buddy Lance Valentine, saying, Lance, are you fishing? Are you into fish? Can you help a brother out? And he always did. Lance is one of those guys that, honestly, it's a cliche, but I feel like he has forgotten more about fishing than I will ever know. And that's why I think he's a great guest here for the show. And that's why he's with us once again. Lance Valentine, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mikey. How are you?
Always good. I'm always good, Lance. At least I try to be. So listen, how was your summer on the Bay?
My summer was absolutely fantastic. It was probably, I would tell you, one of the best summers we've had. I haven't started to dial up the numbers yet, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be one of the best catch numbers we've had, the best average per trip we've had. The fishing was just, it was amazing. You know, we had a lot of northeast winds, which as a charter captain kind of stinks because you're doing a lot of cancels and reschedules, and, you know, because the northeast wind up there, 10 or 15 just kind of makes it, uncomfortable to fish, if not unsafe sometimes. And so we had a lot of cancels and reschedules, but that northeast wind did something really good. It kept, number one, cooler water in the inner bay, and number two, it kept that cooler water oxygenated. So a lot of fish that normally kind of left the inner bay and kind of went a little deeper stayed here this year. So, the spots we usually fish in June are to this day still producing fish. So it was actually, kind of a blessing and a curse, that northeast wind, but it kept the fishing very, very good in the inner bay, very, very easy for most days in the inner bay, and made for just a fantastic fishing year.
Yeah, as of about a week ago, I mean, I wasn't out there, but I was getting good reports out of my beloved Skinny Water that there's still fish in there, and it's going to get nothing but better as the fall goes on now.
Every day is going to get better and better and better and better and better. So, and the cool thing is, traditionally in the fall, we kind of wait for some of those fish to come back. And this year, I think a lot of the fish that traditionally leave didn't leave. So our fall fishing should start earlier. And it should probably last longer because we've got conditions that are going to kind of ease that transition from summer to fall. Sometimes that's a very, very hard transition, and things happen quickly, and the fish really have to adjust. I think this year it's going to kind of be a slide as opposed to a hard transition, and that's going to be a lot easier on the fish, a lot better for the fishermen, and keep the fishing good a lot sooner and keep it good a lot longer this fall, I think.
Lance, you've been around the fishing world for a long, long time, but remind us, how did you get started? How did you get started down this road, on this journey?
Oh, boy. So I grew up, we had a cabin on the Asabo River just outside of Grain in the flies only section, and, fell in love with fishing. I was born on April 12th, 1965, and I made my first trout opener the last Saturday in April of 1965. So I was kind of born into it. My dad and my grandpa were both excellent anglers, and, being up there all summer, I kind of fell in love with not necessarily catching fish, but I fell in love with fishing. I fell in love with studying the water. I fell in love with learning the bugs. I fell in love with keeping records. I fell in love with checking the bug hatches and how, water level and all those things would affect fishing. I fell in love with the process of fishing. And we went to Lake Nipissing down here in Lapeer one day, brought our canoe home. We had a 20-foot Penyan cedar canoe. We brought that home. Dad wanted to do some bluegill fishing, and he hooked into a largemouth bass. It was probably, 15 inches, maybe 16 inches, right? And the thing jumped out of the water, and I'm like, my trout don't do that up the river. And kind of got hooked into lake fishing, and then I got a boat for my 13th birthday from my grandparents. And
hold on, you got a boat for your 13th birthday?
Yeah, that was my birthday present. My 13th birthday. I got a little 14-foot boat from Jim over at Freeway Sports, and I painted it all up and put a flat floor in it, put some carpet in it. We had a 1947 Johnson outboard 5-horse motor that we put on there. It would hardly ever start, so we always had a pair of oars in the boat. And that was kind of how and my mom would drive me and my buddy. We didn't have a trailer. We'd put the boat on top of the 1971. We had a 4-door Chevy Impala. My mom would drive us to the lake, me and a buddy, and we'd flip the boat over, put the motor on, put our gear in there. We'd go fishing for 6 hours, and she'd come back and get us. I just fell in love with fishing, and I wanted to then I got into walleye fishing, right? And actually, it was you that got me into walleye fishing. So someday we're going to sit down and tell these stories. But I remember my dad was like, man, we got to go up and catch these walleyes. And you and Jay Edwards did a seminar at Wally's for the Flint Steelheaders, and I've still got the map. You were with TV5, and you had a little 3 or 4 color foldable handout with a map of Saginaw Bay and all the waypoints and the map of the Saginaw River. And you talked about the migration around the Saginaw River, and I looked at my dad and go, well, now we got some information. We can do that. And we started going to Saginaw Bay, and I kind of fell in love with walleye fishing. And then I wanted to really learn, so I got into tournament fishing. I started fishing the Michigan Walleye Trail. I always wanted to fish the professional walleye trail. Got into the Michigan Walleye Tour, had some success there, got into the professional walleye trail, fished there as a pro for 6 or 7 years. And then one year I was sitting down with my wife going over our expenses for the next year to fish as a pro, and she says, hey, I don't care. You're keeping the bills paid. I told you you could do whatever you want to do as long as the bills are paid. But she goes, why don't you think about becoming a charter captain? Because you're gone a lot. We're not making a lot of money tournament fishing. Why don't you think about becoming a charter captain? And at that time, I'd done 5 or 6 years of my Walleye 101 seminars at Gander Mountain, and I went and got my charter license. And that one year, I tried to guide and tournament fish, and fell in love with guiding. And 20 years later, here we are.
I'm still sitting here smiling that me, Mike Avery, had some small part of Lance Valentine becoming a walleye guy. I can take that one to my grave, buddy.
Absolutely. I was you and Jay Edwards, and we were at that Flint Steelheaders meeting. I still got the map. It has a little layout of the steelboat buoys, and it's a map of Saginaw Bay, and there's some hot spots marked on there. And I remember vividly you talking about, as the fish came out of the river, their migration around the bay. That was what really stuck with me, is we've got to be mobile to even back then, we have to be mobile to catch these fish. We can't necessarily count on catching them in the same place for 3 or 4 weeks. We have to think about how these fish are moving through the bay. So, that was, whenever that was, that was kind of the first introduction into...
it was probably 35 years ago.
Probably.
How come 35 years later, I am no better at walleye fishing and you have it mastered?
You want the honest answer?
Yes.
Because you try to do too much.
How so?
You're one of those guys. Now, I affectionately, so I don't want anybody to get mad, I affectionately call guys like you Bubbas.
Oh, hey, right? No offense there at all.
Right? Think about it. You try to walleye fish, you try to perch fish, you try to pike fish, you try to deer hunt with a bow, you try to deer hunt with a gun, you try to bear hunt, you try to pheasant hunt, you try to small game. You can't do all that and be good at any of it. Because to be really, really good at something, that has to be your obsession 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. To be really, really good, to catch fish when most other guys aren't, to understand these little subtle changes that we see. To do that, you have to do something all the time. You can't have your mind. Tommy Scarlett, I know you knew Tommy. Tommy said it great. He says, when I was talking with Tommy about how he handled amateurs in the boat, he says, the first thing I do is I tell an amateur when they get in my boat, we are only talking about what's going on today. I don't want to tell deer hunting stories. I don't want to tell stories about your trip to Canada. We need to focus on what we're doing today. After we had fish today, we can go to dinner, we can talk about all that other stuff. But in the boat, we need to be talking about what's happening today, not something that happened or is irrelevant to how we're going to work to catch fish today. And I think a lot of people forget that. I think a lot of people just don't put the time in. It doesn't have to be time on the water, Mike. It can be studying. It can be looking at your records. It can be studying the weather. It can be watching the fishing reports on the internet and seeing what is happening. It doesn't necessarily have to be time on the water, but if you really, really want to be good at any of those things, you have to study it all the time.
We're talking with Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin, teachinfishin.com, teachinfishin.com. I was feeling pretty good that Lance said I helped him get into the walleye world, and then he called me a bubba, and it deflated me completely. We'll take it. The highs and lows of outdoor radio. We'll take a break. Now, a lot more with Lance coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM and in Escanaba on WCHT 600 AM 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy multiple sets of hunting clothes in different camo patterns when you can buy one good quality, high quality set and then snap on and zip on an outer camo, change it from, I don't know, snow camo to blaze orange to upland or, waterfowl or whatever. The concept is genius, and the clothes are top quality. The website is versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Just change your skin for the season you're in. While you're online, please check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And then head on over to teachinfishin.com, the website of Lance Valentine. Now, Lance said something before the break. He said, no, listen to me. Listen to me here. You said, Lance, that I could never be really good at something because I was a bubba, and you said that with affection and all due respect, but you said it was because I was also spending time learning to deer hunt and learning to bear hunt and whatever. But here's what I have to say. I stink at deer hunting, and I'm no good at bear hunting, so I should be better at walleye fishing than what I am.
No, you should pick one and get really, really good at it.
But here, honestly, though, even if I picked one, you and I approach things from a different perspective.
Right.
I go out there to have fun and maybe catch some fish. You go out there to have fun and figure out how to catch more fish. We just come at it from a different way of thinking.
And isn't that the beauty of fishing or any outdoor sport at all, right? Everybody
Absolutely.
can enjoy it at whatever pace they want to. It can change day to day. It can change year to year. It can change based on where or who you're fishing with. That's the beauty of the outdoors, and that's why everybody, no matter what they do, just go do it, right? Do it the way you want to do it. And that's why, as you do, I get frustrated with, the bass guys are fighting the walleye guys and the crossbow hunters are fighting. Don't fight, man. There's enough people against us, and they're united as a group. We don't need every single group fighting amongst itself and actually ripping apart, the union that we have as outdoors people. And it doesn't matter how you do it, what you do it, just do it.
Yeah.
Just get out and enjoy everything we have here, especially in this. I mean, think about what Michigan has to offer. I mean, I don't know any place that has any better outdoor situation than Michigan does. You can catch any fish you want that swims in Michigan. You can catch at a world-class level somewhere at the right time in the right water in Michigan. I don't know where else you have that. And then everything else you add to it, all the other things we can do outside. And I don't think we have anywhere else. So just buy a license and get outside and do something.
Amen, brother. I agree with everything you said. I'm also thinking about, I have this image in my head of when you were 13 years old with that boat and that 7-horse outboard, and compare that to you these days out there in that big, beautiful angler quest with, I don't know what you're running, a 300-horse motor or whatever. Man, have things changed.
Man, have things changed. That is true. I never ever would have dreamed back then that I would be, in the Polar Craft or the Angler Quest. I'm fortunate enough to have now. And back then, my dream was a 17-foot pro guide from Bass Pro Shops with a 30-horse tiller on the back. That was kind of my dream rig. And we have come so far. And one of the things, so my 13th birthday was in April. I got a boat. Christmas of my 13th year, I asked my grandma for something really, really special. I says, hey, I don't care how many other gifts we have to skip. I would really like a sonar unit. So we went into, I can't remember the name of the place. It was over at the it was a sporting goods store over in Genesee Valley Mall here in Flint. So this would have been 1978, and she bought me a Humminbird Super 60 flasher. Nothing else, and that's what there was. There were flashers. And I put that on the back of my boat the next spring and went on. So I've been a sonar guy, knowing that, fishing where the fish are is the most important part of that. I have been that guy from the start. So, yeah, the equipment has changed, but the way we do things, the way we approach it, and the tools we need really haven't changed. They've just gotten better.
And you have really capitalized on your expertise with electronics and sonar and such. I mean, that's been a niche that you carved out that I think you pretty much own that one, Lance. So congrats on that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, a lot of hard work, obviously, and again, a lot of studying, a lot of, learning all the little things that make sonar do what it does. And I think one of the things that I'm fortunate at is, for whatever reason, I learned it as someone who didn't know it, right? So I think I come from a different, when I do a seminar or do a presentation, I try to come from that person again, right? I really don't know anything, so how can I explain it in a way that makes sense? I try to have my seminars have a beginning, a middle, and an end, like a good book does, right? So, minute 20 of my seminar builds on minute 1 through 19, and I'm really proud of that, and the people we've reached, and the people that call me or send me an email and say, hey, drove around today for an hour and 15 minutes, couldn't find any fish, finally found them, and we limited out in 45 minutes. And those are always really, really cool calls or text messages to get, because when you make somebody a better angler, for me, I can't think of anything better. I don't care if I ever catch a fish ever again. I mean, but man, when I see somebody that I've helped or somebody I take fishing, and people ask me all the time, what if they don't know me, they ask me what I do, and I tell people I'm in the smile business. And obviously they ask me, are you a dentist? Are you a I say, no, I'm a fishing guide. They're like, what? So I pull up pictures. I go, have you ever seen anybody holding a fish that's not smiling?
Nope.
I said, my job is to create those smiles, however that is, however I am able to reach somebody and help them smile more often when they go fishing. That's what I consider my job. I'm in the smile business, and I love every single minute of it.
Well, I personally have learned so much from you. I mean, I'll go back to just last summer. You and I were fishing the same water, and you were getting some fish and I wasn't. And you said, hey, put a spoon on a diver off the back corner of the Angler Quest 20 feet down, which is something I'd never done before, Lance. And it's a technique, or it's a tactic I ended up using the rest of the summer, and it was very effective. So thank you.
Right. Yeah, well, that's I love getting phone calls from guys that are struggling. Number one, I think it's important that anglers, no matter who they are, understand that at a certain point, hey, I've been out here 2 hours, I got nothing going. I got to call somebody that's got something going. Right? I think that's important. You don't waste your whole day and go, oh, that sucked. Especially if you have somebody with you who's not a fisherman, because the only way to get that guy to go back with you again is to catch some fish. No one wants to drive around for 8 hours and catch nothing. So rely on the sources you have. Rely on the internet fishing reports. Rely on calling your buddies. Rely on the people that you know are going to give you good information, so you can at least get out and make something out of the day. Don't get so proud that you're going to go out there for 7 hours, catch nothing, and go, well, I did it my way. Well, that's not very good. Call those people, and if you are one of those people that gets called, you owe it to someone that called you to say, yeah, here's exactly what I'm doing. Here's where I'm at. Let me show you what I'm doing. Come on over here and catch some fish.
Yeah, but then they're going to catch my fish.
Yeah, okay.
Right? I mean, we hear this all the time. I hear this all the time.
But that's I can't fix that, right? But look, this isn't steelhead fishing, right? I'm not taking your gravel bar 16 miles up the river where you got to go through the woods and everything to get to it. It's Saginaw Bay, it's Lake Erie, it's Detroit River, it's Houghton Lake, whatever. There's a gazillion fish there, and those fish probably aren't going to be there in 2 days. And they're definitely probably not going to be there next Saturday when you come back. So why not get everybody in there? Let's have everybody have a good day, and next week I may be the guy that needs to call you and need information from you. So, I think that's something I would really like to see changed in the fishing world. And it's getting better, right? Our group, our Teachin Fishing Anglers Club does that. Marty over at Team Airborne Angler, they do a great job. The Saginaw Bay Michigan Fishing Facebook page, those guys do a great job of sharing fishing information. So guys are getting more and more open about it because they realize that someday they're going to need information, and it's good to have a group of friends that you can count on.
Speaking of Lake Erie, you've got a big event coming up here later in the month of October, right?
Yeah, so November 3rd to the 6th.
Oh, November, okay.
Yep, kind of takes everything we just talked about. So it's our fishing education weekend. We've been doing it since 2004. We've done about 60 of these events. It's 4 days. We fish as a group, so we meet every day for breakfast, do a little fishing meeting. Everybody goes on the water and shares information as they're fishing so they can help each other catch fish. We come back at night, we clean fish together. We come back at night, have dinner together. Then we have a fishing wrap-up meeting, and then a guest speaker does a seminar every night. And then we do the same thing over again. So it's 4 days of fishing, fellowship, meeting new fishing buddies, being on the water, learning a lot of things from the seminars, sharing information on the water. We kind of teach you how to keep better records. We kind of teach you how to dissect that information. And then we have workshops during the day if you need to learn how to, fish glide baits, or you want to get on your boat and learn how to read your sonar better. We've got all those people on my staff in place to have those things done during the 4 days also. It's a great event. Look forward to it every single year. We run about 75 to 85 guys is our normal number. So it's a nice group getting together and just enjoying great fishing at a time of year where fish can be really, really big in a spot where fish are known to be big. So everything kind of all in one spot, ready to go.
Did you want me to be your featured speaker this year?
Sure. You're always welcome. You're always welcome. You're always welcome to anything we do. You know that.
I do know that, but I just thought that was funny. Hey, Lance, can you stick around for the coveted third segment?
I probably can. I'm sure I've got the time.
All right. Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin, the website teachinfishin.com, teachinfishin.com. Lance is just a great guy. I love talking to Lance, as you can tell. We get along very well. We have similar mindset. The only place we differ is he is like an expert, and I'm just a weekend warrior. But you know what? He doesn't enjoy fishing any more than I do, and I don't enjoy it any more than he does. As Lance was saying earlier, this is the joy of outdoor recreation. You can be a hardcore fly fisherman on the holy waters of the Asable, or you can dunk worms for bluegills. We're out there doing the same basic thing. We just do it in a different way, and we enjoy it immensely. Nobody enjoys fishing more than I do. A lot of people catch more fish than I do, but nobody enjoys the process more than I do. And that's the beauty of this all. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin, teachinfishin.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. You can hear us in Manistique on WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in Saginaw on WSGW 790 AM 100.5 FM. In fact, I'm in the studios of WSGW right now for these 3 hours. We call this corner of the building the Outdoor Magazine studio. I'm here with Charlie Rude, doing a wonderful job as always. The crowd, Charlie, is down a little bit because that big thunderstorm that came through. Yeah, big thunderstorm came through earlier, and I think it kept people home. So it's probably only, 40, 50 of them out there now. And they're going, Charlie, Charlie. They've got signs. I don't see any pitchforks, so it's not that kind of a group out there. Charlie, appreciate your help as always. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reeder Landscaping. Reeder can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reeder create an outdoor getaway in your backyard, as they have for me and now many of my neighbors as well. They do a great job. Also, fall cleanup, right? Fall cleanup happening now, or at least certainly just around the corner. Time to put the sprinkler systems to bed, blow out the sprinkler systems. Leaves are going to be down here before too long. Reeder can take care of that. And looking down the road to that next season where that stuff falls from the sky that starts with SNO and ends with O. Well, ends with white snow, right? I don't even want to think about that. They can take care of that as well. ReederLandscaping.com, ReederLandscaping.com. Talking now with my buddy Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin, teachinfishin.com. So, Lance, let's talk about fall walleye fishing. Your odds of catching a big fish. Well, ice fishing, obviously the best, but since you and I don't ice fish, this is a great time of year to target trophy fish.
Yeah, it's definitely the best time of the year to catch trophy fish. Right there's more of them, and the difference between fall and spring is spring you're going to have trophies. One day they're going to drop their eggs, and those fish are going to lose 2, sometimes 3 pounds. Right in the fall, fish are just getting fatter every day. So we're on our way from where they are now to getting heavier in the fall, as opposed to peak weight and then losing it in the springtime. So you have a much better chance of catching the fish of a lifetime in the fall than you ever do, I believe, in the spring. And, Saginaw Bay, Lake Erie, Detroit River are all great places to go and look for those kind of fish.
So how are you approaching these fish now, this time of year in the fall, as opposed to midsummer?
So the biggest thing that happens, I call it the summer to fall transition, and fall is basically 4 steps. It's the summer to fall transition. It's early fall, then we get turnover, and then we get into actual, hard fall. So you got to approach fish different ways in each one of those 4 segments. So right now we're kind of in that summer to fall transition. We haven't got our first frost yet. The lake hasn't turned over yet. We're still separated in deeper water. Warmer water on top, colder water on the bottom. But these fish are starting to make some very, very distinct movements. Very distinct movements toward places of current or where there's wind a lot. They're starting to make a distinct movement if they're on a piece of structure. So let's say they're sitting on a drop-off. Traditionally in the summertime, fish like to have a lot of the same habitat. So flats are a big deal, right? So it's 8 feet, 12 feet, 20 feet, whatever it is. It's that for a long time. So that's where I'm comfortable. I want to stay there. What happens in fall is, because the weather changes so rapidly, is fish now will move from one side of the structure to the other, from the gradual sloping side of a piece of structure where there's flats over to the other side where there's a lot steeper drop-off, because now if it's comfortable to be in 8 feet of water in the morning and it's more comfortable being 30 feet in the afternoon, I can do that very quickly just by moving vertically without having to go a long way horizontally. So there is definitely a shift from flat structures over to steeper structures. And there's definitely a movement from being spread out on flats to the edges of the channel. So you're going to start to see fish moving to steeper structures and getting closer to where they have access to deeper water, which is usually more stable in the fall. So this migration slowly starts to happen as we get, now we're in the transition from summer to fall. This migration is already starting to happen. You start to see weed growth start to die, so fish are in weeds will kind of move out to the first major drop-off edge. So they're still close to the weeds that are left, but they're not in there where those weeds are dying and getting rid of oxygen. So these very, very subtle shifts are important to understand how these fish are moving and where you got to go to catch them.
I don't know how I can speak to you for such a short amount of time and learn so much information.
I got a bunch of useless crap in my head.
I don't believe that. Hey, Lance, how do we take part in your outing in Lake Erie in November? How do we sign up for that?
Yeah, you can go to teachinfishing.com, and right on the front page of the website, it says 2002 Fishing Education Weekend. You can just click on that, and all the details are there. You'll learn everything we're going to do, what's going on, and how to sign up if you want to sign up and join us.
Now, do you have to have a boat, or can you jump on with somebody else?
You do not have to have a boat. If you don't have a boat and you just want to come, we'll hook you up with a boater. And conversely, if you have a boat and don't have any of your buddies that want to come on down. We'll be more than happy to set you up with a couple people. And it's amazing how many people are coming to our trips as 2 or 3 guys together who actually met for the first time at one of our sessions. That they actually met there and they've just become fishing buddies forever. So you never know what's going to happen when you come to one of these events. It's just an absolute great time. Lots of fun, lots of great fishing, and lots of education kind of mixed in. Look, you're going to go away a better angler and not even know we taught you anything. You're going to have so much fun that you're not even going to know you're learning. Fishing buddies are some of the best buddies. Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin, a good buddy of mine. You can check him out online at teachinfishing.com. That's teachinfishing.com. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up with another buddy of mine, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, right here on Outdoor Magazine.
Thank you so much for joining us this week here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. It's a real pleasure. Honestly, it is. This is... To be able to do this show is a blessing, an honor, privilege, pleasure. To be here for 3 hours each week talking about the great outdoors, the history and tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping. And occasionally, you don't have to catch fish or shoot a critter to have a great trip. But sometimes it is part of the experience. And when we get to that point, there's one guy I think of, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, who helps us wrap up each week's Outdoor Magazine Show. And even though he's traveling, he is graciously giving us some time today. David, welcome back. How are you?
Very, very good. Couldn't be happier. Went to get an Irish Wolfhound puppy.
Irish Wolf, that's a big dog, Dave.
It is. He's 12 weeks old, and he weighs 40-some pounds already.
How big will he be when he's grown?
About 200.
200 pounds.
37 to 39 at the shoulder. His daddy won the Westminster last year.
Whoa.
Pretty special dog.
I was going to say, you're going, yeah, very nice. Well, so do you have the pup yet?
No, we're just going to get him in about 5 minutes after I hang up with you. We're driving 14 miles from the campground to get it, and we'll be home shortly.
So hurry up, Avery. Get done with this. All right, David, do you have a recipe for us?
Sure do. I've got one of the more exotic, more fulfilling meals with venison, and we did this one time on your TV show years and years ago, and people just raved about it. It's a portobello and venison steak puttanesca. Portobello mushrooms are that great big large one you see in the grocery store. And if you can't find the big ones, you could actually buy the small baby portobellos and slice them up and use them because the flavor is just outrageous. And a lot of people say that this fungi eats like meat. So puttanesca refers to the lady of the evening in Spanish. And this why this sauce is sinfully good.
I remember that line.
Yeah, my God, it was great. So we need about 8 to 10 ounces of venison steak per person. You want to put it between saran wrap or heavy plastic and pound it down thin. And you need 1 large cap per person, or I think the little ones come in 12-ounce packages. Slice them up, stem and all. 12-ounce can of whole peeled tomatoes, drained and diced up. A half a cup of sliced and pitted Kalamata olives. They're that black olive that's like an oil cured. A couple tablespoons of capers, more or less to your taste. A medium onion diced fine. I like to take, for 4 people, you're going to use a medium-sized yellow pepper sliced, kind of not too thin, but a little bit of texture to them. Some garlic, 2 to 3, 4 cloves, depending on what you like. 1 jar of beef gravy, Jim Beam, maybe 1 to 2 ounces. And you need, this is a kind of a sweeter sauce. So you're going to use a bunch of Marsala wine. Sweet. Dry does not do this justice whatsoever. You need flour to dredge, olive oil, and a lot of fresh ground pepper. So after you get the meat pounded out, you're going to grate that pepper all over it. And if you like, you could actually use the crushed pepper. To me, that would be a much better flavor also. So after you get the mushroom or the venison pounded out between the saran wrap, put that on the side for a minute. You're going to cut the stems off the mushroom, and you're not going to use them because they're a little tough in the bigger ones like that. So you're going to dredge the meat in flour in a very hot pan, brown the steaks off, and leave them while they're quite rare. Take them out. Add a little bit more olive oil. And you're going to steam each cap separately. And you're going to put a little bit of Marsala wine, some olive oil, cover them up, brown them on one side for a couple minutes, the other side for a couple minutes. And if you want, you could put them in a medium hot oven, keep them warm. So then you're going to take some olive oil, saute the onions, the garlic, the yellow pepper for a couple minutes, get that flavor all broke loose. Away from the stove, you're going to add the Marsala wine and the Jim Beam. Flambe that. Take a barbecue lighter along one of them lighters, light the fire up. It's going to go poof, so be careful. Don't get scared. Then you add the tomatoes and the gravy and reduce that down by half. Put the mushroom caps back in the sauce. Both sides, you want to cook it 2, 3, 4 minutes on each side. Same thing on the other side. Then you're going to make sure when you serve this, you got the gill side up, the cap side down and the gills up. Add the meat to the sauce. You're going to take just enough to make it from rare to medium rare or rare if you like it. Don't cook it any more than medium. You're going to just dry it out. So place the mushrooms cap on your plate, put the venison on top, and then divide the sauce up all the way around. And some kind of a flavored rice would go good with this, or pasta, or whatever starch you like. But we sold this at the restaurant for a long, long time, and people just raved about it. So it's one of my very favorites to make when I'm like in deer camp or something.
Oh, that sounds wonderful, Dave. By the way, do you have a name for the pup yet?
Franklin.
Franklin.
It's going to be Franklin Miles because we had to go 12 hours to get him. So
Franklin
middle
Miles.
name.
All right, David, have fun with the new pup. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Outdoor Magazine Show. You can find David, Oscar, and Joey's Roadhouse at Birch Run just off I-75. You can find me online at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Check my social media outlets. You'll know how I did on my bear hunt in the UP, hunting near Seney with Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. And check me out Wednesday nights at 7 for Wednesday Night Live. My name is Mike Avery, and I'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.